Hi everybody. I spent now 2 weeks, a bit more 2 weeks with the Sennheiser HD550. Again, I'm a gamer, not an audiophile, saying that in advance, so I might not use the perfect terms that maybe some audiophiles expect. But one thing I realized, and it kind of hits me harder, let's say it like that when I used it, that unlike music, for example, when you listen to certain tracks or certain genre, you might prefer using one headphone over another. When it comes to gaming, you won't change your headphones in the middle of the game if there's something happening, like if it's a boss fight or you're just cruising, for example, and there's music playing in the background. Basically, I was searching for a headphone that won't actually have something that kind of impair significantly my experience in certain parts of things that I'm doing in games. I can tell you that one reason I was looking for a headphone that had more extended bass is because I'm playing also action games. Delta Force, Battlefield, and other games, when I want to hear the rumble. Actually, with the open back headphone that I had before, I couldn't even hear the sub bass. And even the entire low range of the frequencies, I couldn't even hear them with my open back headphones. But when I compare them at a certain video to the Sennheiser HD550 that I have, this is what the video is about, I could actually hear them. And once I even EQ'd it, it just increased even the bass even more. I was surprised how amazing it was. It was there, it was existing, it was... You feel the rumbles, the thumps, everything is just there, and I just enjoy the combat so much better because of that. On the other hand, in some games, I play single-player games where, open-world games, I want the airiness. I wanted to really feel the specialness of the environment. When I play competitive games, I wanted good localization, whether it's shooters or mobile games. I want to know where enemies are actually located. I want to be lightweight, comfortable, so I can use it for long play sessions, hours over hours. I didn't want the highs to be harsh. Sometimes it bothers me in certain situations in games, not all the time. Sometimes it leads to more airiness, which I like. For example, the KSE75, which is still used today, and this is $20 like on-ear headphones, very cheap, but the sound is incredible. But it lacks in the lows for sure. Don't even expect to hear or feel any sub bass. And sometimes you wish the mids were better. And the thing is, with mids, it can really ruin a gameplay experience. And I mentioned it before in previous videos. In many games that lots of sound effects, when you increase the mids, it can be so harsh, especially when there are lots of things happening in the background. In Delta Force and Battlefield, I can hear it quite significantly. And sometimes I actually prefer, when I use other headphones, to decrease the mid section, so I won't feel that there's so many sounds happening in the background, actually interfering with the gameplay. It's just annoying. So I wanted something that kind of can answer many things that can happen in games. And again, I'm not going to change the headphones during gameplay for sure. And I play so many games in these 2 weeks, especially games that you can really benefit from having high quality headphones, including Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and what you see here, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, where there's lots of things, sound effects, ambient sound, also lots of sounds happening in the background at the same time, voices of characters, amazing music, moments that you want the music to impact you, you want to react emotionally to it. There's also explosions, by the way, and certain still situations. You want to hear the precise locations of where enemies are located. Because it's an open world, you want to feel the airiness and the specialness of the world. Once you hear the sound of the wind and the music in the background, you want to feel you actually there. You want to have a great sense of presence in the world. And I wanted all of that. But until now, I wasn't satisfied. And I tried various headphones, some of them in the store, some of them I bought, but they always failed me at a certain point. So I knew that if I want to get something better, first of all, I needed to ramp up the price in order to see that in that segment where there are lots of headphones, maybe I'm going to find something there. And the mids were super important for me. I knew that because the mids, with the highs, I can manage. Even with the lows, with the bass, I can manage, although I'm going to feel that I'm missing something, certain games. But in the mids, I wanted it to be great. And that's where the HD550 came along and changed everything. I ramped up the price that I'm willing to pay for headphones. and I searched and read, and I read and compared a lot. Also based lots of things based on other people's opinion, and I kind of aggregated things to see what's in common, because there's a lot of subjective variables here that I also need to take into account. I can also understand that some headphones can, one person can hear something and the other person can just experience them differently because of anatomy and other things subjectively that you have no control over, and they might impact you differently when you use the headphones compared to another user. And after 2 weeks intensive gaming with these headphones, I can tell you that these are probably the closest that you can get to perfect headphones at their price segment. It's important to note, when I'm talking about gaming headphones, they don't have a microphone, they don't have like a knob for mixing audio sources. You won't find cool LED lights here. They aren't using USB. And other things that usually when people search for certain headphones, they want kind of one that has everything gaming-wise and it can help you with gaming. These are not that. I'm just talking about audio quality here. Other things I have is external accessories, so I don't need them. I was searching for a pure, high-quality audio experience in gaming. The bass and the sub bass were surprisingly good. I also EQ'd it up. It responds so well for that. So in certain games that I want to hear the thumbs, I want to hear the rumbles, I want to hear feel the vibrations, it was there, and very significantly there. The mids surprisingly well. I can say that it impairs some degree of experience when I want it to feel a bit more airy, but you can EQ it down and it's still going to be like, for example, like my KSC75. But the thing is that, as I told you, forget about EQ for a second. If you want something that's going to be great for many things, it actually ticks exactly the right place to be. Because you also want to hear, for example, when you hear music, or you also want to hear vocals well. So this is part, by the way, if you want also headphones that are good for gaming and music, especially when you want to hear vocals, they're really great for that as well. But because they're kind of rounded, sounds just don't feel like, harsh when you hear many sound effects happening. There's so many sound effects, right? This is something that's not like a vocal of a human. There's so many crazy sound effects in games. Some of them will fit maybe certain mids and others, but this is kind of designed to kind of fit many of these sound effects and not really give you a sense that you are hearing too many things at the same time and bring everything out too much upfront. First, I thought because they kind of feel more upfront, well, at first, that's what I thought, sound effects won't sound really good when they're happening in certain games, and maybe it's going to be so harsh. It never was like that. It was still very detailed though, but let's say less airy compared to, again, as a reference to the KSC75. So it kind of, in a way, closes the soundstage a bit, because sometimes when you hear something airy, it also leads to a feeling of something spacious. But at least this is something that I would sacrifice for just to having something that will work well for many games. The treble, the highs, amazing. Nothing at any game, at any point in game, I felt that it's kind of harsh or it's kind of piercing. Never in a single moment. It was just perfect. So after playing dozens of games, and specifically games that you can benefit from having high quality headphones, I can tell you that the Sennheiser HD550 is by far, or probably, one of the best. I would call it gaming headphones, but not in the sense of in terms of utility, but in terms of sound quality, probably something that's going to be the end game and best for most players. Whether you enjoy playing competitive games like, for example, Counter-Strike 2, whether you enjoy playing single-player games. And no worries, by the way, if you enjoy, for example, bass, it won't actually go over the mids, it won't interfere with it. There's great sound separation here. And even if you want to listen and enjoy music, it's also good for music as well. I like listening to different genres, whether it's rock, whether it's pop, R&B, and hip-hop, everything. It just was amazing. I really, really enjoyed listening to music with it, especially, of course, music in games like Claroscuro Expedition 33, and even here, Death Stranding 2 on the beach with an amazing soundtrack. It was just a joy to listen to. So when I made my initial review, I felt like, all right, first of all, I needed a bit of time to adjust to them, yeah, like any other headphones. But I thought maybe I'm going to find something that's not working well. And I told you, just compare, for example, to the airiness of the KSC75, like the wind, for example, in a game here, for example, I experienced, the sound of the wind. I like it better on the KSC75 because it feels more airy. Whether the mids kind of gave the sound something a bit more slightly metallic. I'm saying slightly, yeah? Slightly colder and less natural compared to the one that I experienced on the KSC75. But the good news is that you can EQ it and kind of tone it down a bit and get more or less the same thing. So overall, based on everything, based on these two intensive weeks playing with these headphones, I cannot recommend them enough. It doesn't mean that's the end goal for me. I'm probably going to try even more, maybe go to the higher, more expensive segment and just at least give it a shot and see whether I can find something that maybe I'm going to like better. We'll see. Until then, this is my opinion. I'm going to share more when the time comes. Thanks for watching.